The Angry Birds movie is the first movie ever to be made based on a smartphone game. I'm sure you've all heard of Angry Birds by now. You shoot the birds at the green pigs, you know the drill. And while the film itself isn't too interesting, what is the really smart maneuvering they've used in the years leading up to the film's release. This isn't going to be a complete timeline of the film's development, but more so a compilation of what we found. If more information eventually starts coming up, you can expect a second part to this video. But for now... It all started in 2011. David Maisel, an executive producer of the Thor and Iron Man series, saw his mother playing Angry Birds on her iPad. Afterwards, he approached Rovio with a very simple pitch, to build Angry Birds into an entertainment franchise, similar to what he had done with the Avengers. You see, way back in 2002, Marvel had hired Mr. Maisel to come up with a plan to increase returns on their films. Inspired by George Lucas, he decided the best decision would be to self-finance the films based on their characters. The plan was a success, and ended up doubling Marvel's value when it was acquired by Disney in 2009. Rovio was interested in rebuilding their value, and had been struggling due to new competition and the oversaturation of toys and merchandise. They also saw success of the Angry Birds Toon series and felt that it validated the idea of creating a feature film. Thus, they appointed Mr. Maisel as the special advisor, and rejected offers from Hollywood studios so they could maintain creative control. Many of their directors felt like this was a huge gamble. The popularity of Angry Birds had already begun wearing, and Mr. Maisel had several hopes and conditions in making the film feel more like a special event. Rovio were to stop productions on television episodes, and no videos they released could be longer than 3 minutes. None of the characters were to speak or be seen with arms and legs, and their backstories were to be kept a secret, as they considered this a great asset. Mr. Maisel himself, however, was not worried. He felt it was important for them to maintain control of their most iconic property, and with over 3 billion downloads, global awareness was already much higher than Iron Man before his movie. Throughout 2013, Sony sent out various questionnaires to measure interest for their upcoming movie. In various greenlight studies found in the Sony leaks, it states that their objectives were to evaluate the health and awareness of the brand, identify the franchise's strengths, and to measure the interest in a potential film. They worked with the Penn Schro Berland, I hope I pronounced that correctly, to conduct interviews in the UK, Russia, Germany, Korea, and Mexico. They asked 520 moviegoers per country, with half of these being general moviegoers, and the other half being split between parents and kids, ages 7 to 12. They found the awareness was high and consistent all across the board, with the kids having the highest player and fanship. When evaluated, they came to the conclusion that the brand was both popular and strong, despite only 54% stating that Angry Birds would make a good movie. At the end of it all, the 4 core assets of the brand were determined to be the variety of the birds, the compatibility, the use of strategy, and the animation style. Their takeaway? Establish a strong narrative and give characters rich personalities. This is a top-tier franchise, well known in several key territories. Angry Birds has a consistent brand identity that emphasizes fun and funny gameplay, and the family audiences comprise the core base for the movie. The most popular characters in order were Red, Blue, Chuck, and the Bomb. Across all 5 markets, the brand signaled for family-friendly fun. During market testing, one of the interviewees mentioned how they loved the sounds the birds made. Obviously, when translating the property into a movie, it was almost required to get voice actors, which was a journey in of itself. It was important to cast the right voices to capture each of the characters' personalities. When they first asked Jason Sudeikis, he passed due to disagreements over creative involvement. They began to consider asking Jonah Hill or Charlie Day, but decided to give one last chance to Jason. They worked things out and closed the deal. When casting Chuck, they actually asked Zach Galifianakis, who was on the initial casting list for Red. Zachary passed as he was voicing the incredible Mr. Lippet and wasn't interested in doing another animated film at the time. They again considered asking Charlie Day, but were convinced to instead give the role to Josh Gad. Josh's voiceover agent was hesitant at first due to a potential Frozen sequel. After a Skype call, however, Josh said he loved the pitch and that Chuck was completely different from Olaf.
Oh, look at that. I've been impaled.
According to Josh Gad, his original voice for Chuck sounded too similar to Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. Because of this, he started focusing on the dialect of the character. He began speaking so quickly that by the 3rd take, his mouth would be numb and his voice would be gone. An interesting piece of trivia is they also considered asking American comedian Aziz Ansari, though this seems to never have come to fruition. There really isn't enough time to go through every voice actor they considered, so these are the ones we know of, as follows. To make the movie, Mr. Cohen chose to use a virtual studio, an approach he originally formulated for Despicable Me. This means the writing, storyboarding, and other development was handled in a small Los Angeles office, while the other artists contributed from around the world. The animation production itself was handled by Sony Pictures Imagineworks, a division in Canada. This maneuvering helped Rovio to make their movie in less than half of what Disney usually spent on their pictures. In an interview, the film's directors Fergal Riley and Clay Cade stated they were both skeptical when first told about the Angry Birds film. However, once they read the script, it gave them indication that it was going to change all expectations for what people thought an adaptation from an app to a movie would be. They used the script as groundwork for the whole film, and it was a really organic process. In an interview, Mr. Cade has further elaborated into what they meant. While they were redesigning the characters for the film, they decided that they would aim for a more fun, cartoony approach instead of a more realistic, anatomical bird. This was done so they would have less restrictions in the quality of their performance. The team also decided to give the film's counterparts animated arms to further animate their performances. A lot of the game is reflected in the movie. The iconic slingshot, the TNT crates, the unstable buildings. They were really able to creatively mine the game because of how simple its concept was. It didn't need to spend half of the movie explaining the series' lore. The 2 islands in the film were included so they would be able to invent new locations and characters that weren't present in the original. Mr. Maisel has stated that if the film is successful, he hopes to make sequels and spin-offs every 2 or 3 years, beginning in 2019. He also hopes that the box office success may increase Rovio's attractiveness to a possible buyer. Rovio themselves are releasing new toys and products in promotion with the movie, but they're being conservative as to not oversaturate the market. I did it! I recorded the whole thing! Okay. This is the part where I'm supposed to plug my channel, but I just need to say before I do that, we started recording this video back in May! Like, oh my gosh, that is so ridiculous on my part. This year has been hectic, everyone should realize that. And I don't want to go too much into it, but I just want to say, sorry Bernie, like, this video should have come out a long time ago. And it was so hard to find time to record this. Like, I lived on an extremely busy street, and this mic is super sensitive, so the cars always get picked up in the background in the middle of recording. Not to mention my air conditioner, which you probably heard throughout this video. It just flips on whenever it wants to, and I record right next to the room where it's in, so it sucks! But anyways, I have a new review show coming out soon called Couch Potatoes. I don't know when it's getting released, but we'll keep you notified. If you follow my Tumblr or my Twitter or watch my Picardo stream every Friday and Saturday, I talk about the stuff I'm working on a lot there. I'm just gonna go now. I talked way too long. I need to get a drink. Happy Halloween! Can this be like a yearly thing? I just make a video every Halloween month?